Fear lives in the heart of all mankind. It's a primal feeling you've known since birth. Fear of death, fear of the unknown, or fear of something worse. And yet, humanity is attracted to fear, whether it be scary stories, or horror movies, or in this case, horror games. And today, we the Steam Pals are here to present one possible answer to this question. I, High Tech Lowlife, will be your host for today, and today we're talking about our favorite horror games. So go ahead, get yourself a bunch of candy, and get someone stronger than you by your side, because you're in for one hell of a time.
Why have you locked me in here? My camera. It still works. Hello, I am Scorp, Tuneballs Gaming. If you find this video, I have some very important information to tell you. I don't know how long I've got, but if you find this video, send it straight to High Tech Lowlife of the Steam Pals. I need to tell him about this game for the Steam Deck.
Costume Quest from Double Fine. Okay, so unlike the other games on this list, this one is not horror, but it is Halloween themed. The premise is simple enough. You'll play as one of twin siblings Ren or Reynolds on Halloween night. Unlike any child on Halloween night, your job is to go trick-or-treating to get as much candy as possible. And to accomplish that, you'll need some good costumes.
Carpet Day!
Things quickly escalate when you trick-or-treat at the wrong house, and a monster mistakes one of the siblings' costumes for a real candy corn, and the monsters really like candy and quickly takes them away. And this is where your quest begins. Get it? Quest, costumes, costume quest, because you're wearing a costume and it's quest. Yep, alright. Along the way, you'll need to solve some light puzzles, a few mini games, collect some stamps, trade some collecting cards, play hide and seek, and of course go trick or treating. There are several costumes to collect by finding patterns, and the material for said patterns. Each costume has a unique ability that you will need for certain puzzles, or for getting to certain areas in the map. And then there's the combat. With your childlike imagination, you have the ability to transform into your costume. Combat is turn-based and is very basic, do not expect anything complex. Each character has a standard attack, and you will have to perform a quick time event to perform it successfully. If you do fail these often, it is possible to lose. Each costume is also equipped with a unique ability that will charge every few rounds, with abilities such as health regeneration and shields. Also, each character can be equipped with one of the aforementioned stamps, which will add an active or passive ability to your character. The variety of enemies is rather limited, but there are a number of boss battles with some quirky dialogue and humour. The game itself will take you about 6 to 7 hours to complete. There's also some DLC which adds about 2 hours and it's Christmas themed, and also there's a sequel. If you've been collecting all your free games on Epics, then you may already own both of these games. If not, you can buy it on Steam right now for the special price of $5 Euro pounds. It's definitely well worth picking up. And as for the coveted Scorp rating, I give this game 13 pumpkins.
I guess it's not so bad being locked up in here. No! The battery died.
Hey everybody, this is Russ from Metro Game Core. I'm probably the worst candidate when it comes to choosing a scary or spooky game, just because I really haven't played a lot of them, and that's because they're a little too scary for me. All the same, the experiences that I have are probably worth sharing, and so I thought it'd be fun to jump into this episode. Now, number one, I've always been fascinated by scary games. I remember trying, like, for example, the very first Resident Evil and Silent Hill games, but they were just too scary for me. It's funny because scary movies don't really scare me that much, but interacting with it, like actually playing a game where I'm in charge of being scared, I don't know, there's something about that I don't really like. Anyway, flash forward to, the PS2 and GameCube era, I really gave it a college try when it came to Resident Evil 4. This is a game that was just so awesome looking back in the day, and I'd heard so many great things about it in the reviews and whatnot, and so I forced myself to play through this game, even though it scared the heck out of me. In fact, it was probably around 2006 or so I was a little bit late in the game, but I remember that it took me about 6 months to play through the original Resident Evil 4. And that's because I had to play the game in 20-minute segments. It was just way too scary for me to do anything more than that. In addition, I had to play it in daytime because it was just way too much at night. Either way, it's one of my proudest accomplishments as a gamer from that era, just in the fact that I finally beat that game, even though it took me a really long time. Now, when the new Resident Evil 4 was coming out, I kind of got a little interested in that again, just because I love the story of the first one. And I thought to myself, well, I've played the old one and I made it through that, so now that I'm much older, maybe I can play through the new one. And thankfully on Steam, they have the chainsaw demo available, so you don't have to pay anything and you can just play it right then and there. And this was perfect for me because it saved me $60, because I made it about 5 minutes into that game. Basically, when your first encounter with a bad guy, and I basically lost all of my ammo by like plugging that guy with a bunch of bullets, and I realized that, oh my gosh, I don't want to do the next thing in this game, and so therefore I like turned it off and noped the heck out. So what I did instead is I booted up the remastered version of the original Resident Evil 4. This is a game I've probably bought 10 times over on various platforms, and so I just so happened to have it on Steam as well. And to be honest, I still got scared with that old Resident Evil 4, to the point where I figured out how to load up a save game that I found on the internet that would give me unlimited ammo, and so that just made things a lot easier for me. Now, of course, that's totally cheating, and I'm sure people will say, well, Russ, you didn't play it the right way, but for me, the way to play a game is the way that you want to play the game, and so I really enjoyed the time that I replayed Resident Evil 4 earlier this year. So I guess what I'm saying is that I totally recommend Resident Evil 4, and honestly, it's not that scary of a game. It's just a matter of the fact that I don't do really well with those types of games. Either way, if you're thinking about doing it, maybe try out the Resident Evil 4 demo for free and then see whether or not it's going to be worth paying for. Anyway, that's it for my segment, so we'll move on to the next person, and we'll see you next time. Happy gaming.
Hey Deck fam, Liam here from Gaming on Linux. Now I'll start by saying for the record, I'm absolutely useless at any form of horror or spooky games in general. I am just a big wuss. Everything scares me. I could turn a corner in a perfectly normal game and jump out of my seat if there's someone there that I'm not expecting. However, one game I do love to keep going back to is Dead by Daylight, an online game where multiple players face off against some unspeakable evil thing. I can just about handle this one mentally, and hey, it runs great on the Steam Deck with good performance, and it is Steam Deck verified as well. So in Dead by Daylight you have 4 players who all work together to fix up some generators to open the main doors on a map to escape, while being hunted by a single other player. There's various characters you can pick with different strengths and weaknesses, and all the creatures hunting you have different powers and abilities that they can use against you. Now this is not the scariest game around, but the atmosphere and design is what really sells it on this one. The fear that I feel when I'm sat there fixing up a generator, panning the camera around, hearing everything that's going on in the background, wondering if I'm next and if something is creeping up on me. It's really something, and even after many hours, I still get frightened by it. Now, even though it is a co-op game if you're playing as the survivors, technically you don't actually need to help each other. Each of you is alone to begin with, or in some cases, you might start with another player. Generally, you're all pretty spread out, but you can choose to follow around others and fix things together, or alone, if you think your chances are better that way. Safety in numbers though, right? The quicker you fix things, the easier it will be to escape. Now you and other players can be captured and hooked, with other players then able to come along and rescue you. And if some players have a medkit, they can even heal you up as well. The evil creature hunting you can really mess with your progress as well, because if you're running away from a generator you're trying to fix, it can then attack it to bring down your progress on it. And they've got various other tricks, weapons, traps, and more they have to screw with you. It's slightly different each time you play as well, with a little bit of random generation on each map, and there's a few different maps to play through as well. There's even a whole character level up and upgrade system, so the more you play, the more interesting it will be. There's even an alien character pack and map which you can pick as an extra, along with various others, and as a huge Alien fan, naturally I had to go and get it. They also have the likes of Nicolas Cage, there's a Resident Evil, an Ash vs Evil Dead crossover, and plenty more. If you want a good co-op game for spooky season, Dead by Daylight is absolutely worth grabbing, and it's pretty cheap as well, has lots of regular players, and is nicely supported with regular updates.
Hi, I'm Michael from Germany. I don't have a lot of time right now, but let's talk about a game real quick that fits this mood perfectly. It's World of Horror. World of Horror is a super cool and weird genre mix. It combines elements of roguelike games with board games and a JRPG. And as you can see, the visuals match the weird gameplay premise. It uses the 1 or 2-bit aesthetic that is very reminiscent of old, very old PCs, and combines that with a Junji Ito style that you might know from books like Uzumaki. So what do you actually do here? You start your adventure by choosing one of the several mysteries where you have to defy an elder god that tries to destroy an old little small town. In the board game portion of the game, you try to find clues and investigate several buildings like an old haunted school. In most cases you find something. You have to make a decision. Do you want to investigate further? Do you want to run away? It might have consequences for your mental or physical health. And then we switch over to the JRPG part, where it's turn-based combat and you have to find the right mix of defending yourself and being on the offense. Once your character dies, it's game over and you have to start new. That's where the roguelike portion comes in, because over the course of the game you unlock more mysteries, more gods, more playable characters that you can control, all with their own strengths and weaknesses. I'd say most runs take around 15 minutes to half an hour, which seems to me like a good amount of time for a roguelike game. You're still here? Before I gotta run. The game runs really well on Steam Deck. 5 watts nets you a long playtime for the battery, and you only need the mouse to control the whole game. Touchpad is enough, but there's also a gamepad up. Shit, did you hear that? I gotta go. See you soon.
Hello everyone, my name's Fox. In this episode of Steam Pals, we were tasked with trying to find our top picks for spookiest or best horror game to play on the Steam Deck. Now for me, I wanted to pick a game that would be able to play at maximum resolution, maximum quality settings, while still being rather playable. And a game that immediately floated to the top was an older game that I played on the Xbox 360 originally, and I absolutely loved it and got most all of the achievements on it. And then when the PC port was available and was available cheap through some Steam sale a long time ago, I just picked it up because I absolutely love the game. Now, this game that I'm talking about is Condemned: Criminal Origins. This game will be able to play at 720p, all maximum settings, no problem on the Steam Deck. In fact, most often the average total system power is going to be around 8 watts. That's the total that's being pulled from the battery. So it is not really using much at all in terms of what's on the SoC of the Steam Deck. It does climb up to around 11 to 12 watts when things get a little bit busier or when there's a little bit more visual effects happening, but still, at 12 watt total system power, that's really nothing. You're looking at close to having a little bit over 3 hours of battery life, even when it's chugging. So that's still fantastic battery life with a solid 60 FPS experience using maximum quality settings. So that qualified for me in terms of the initial part of it. The second part of it was that for me, I like horror or spooky games that aren't so crazy scary. I do prefer games that aren't going to be like over the top, trying to just make me just go insane. There are some games that I just had to put down just because the playstyle of them were so well tuned in terms of trying to frighten me that I just kind of put them down and never turned back. This game kind of plays out like the movie Seven. So you're going through this game and it's you're a detective, so to speak, and there's these paranormal parts that are happening, and you're trying to figure out how that's all going on with the story. So the entire story part of it, how the progression happens, is something that I was deeply invested in. There are still some scary paranormal parts that happen, but they aren't over the top, and they're not like constantly, jump scares that are happening to you. So overall, in terms of being able to play this at maximum quality settings, having great battery life, having a great story, and it being spooky, this, I think, is my top pick for the horror game for Steam Deck.
Hi Tech Lowlife here. I'm going to introduce you to a game that's going to drive you crazy for a number of different reasons. It's called The Coffin of Andy and Layla. Cannibalism and codependency. That's the tagline for the game. Incredibly messed up family dynamics, killings, horrible deaths, and sacrificial offerings to demons. And oh yeah, did I mention the cannibalism part? It's a story of two siblings abandoned by their family, left to die, and their descent into depravity and madness. Things spiral out of control extremely quickly, and the two main characters, Andrew and Ashley, are horrible people. through and through. The game sort of has a reputation for being a meme game, for obvious reasons, but it's actually kind of unironically good. A lot of people say it's a horror game, but I think it's more accurately a black comedy horror game. It's definitely got the horror themes, and you do horrible things, but it's really funny. Like, I don't know what it is. It's got the same effect as like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Horrible people doing horrible things while things horribly spiral out of control. These are characters you shouldn't be rooting for, and yet you do anyways. Oh, I know why y'all do it. The scariest part about this game is the amount of subtext there is between the two, if you know what I mean. This is a game you definitely shouldn't play around your family. The Coffin of Andy and Layla is currently available on Steam. It's in early access right now, and there's only 2 episodes available. There will be one more final episode being released whenever that's ready, and the game will be updated accordingly. It's not like you have to buy multiple episodes. And for the question everyone's asking, does this game run on Steam Deck? Yes, it runs on Steam Deck, and it runs quite well. No need for tweaks or anything of the sort. Just don't play this in public, please. Please. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's prime Halloween time. On to the next Steam Pal.
Hey everyone, Deck Wizard here. Happy Halloween to all of you, and I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. For this Steam Pals, my game of choice is Alan Wake 2, which many may be surprised, or even horrified, to discover this game runs at all on the Steam Deck, considering its scary requirements. Playing Alan Wake 2 on the Steam Deck isn't as bad as many initially thought it would be. Even though we are pushing the device to its limits, we can still experience the story, and even though other high-performing options exist out there, like the PS5, Series X and top-tier PCs, this isn't always an option for some players. But with the affordable 256 and 512GB models of the Steam Deck, we still get to have a great time and enjoy the gameplay, characters, and world carefully crafted over the past few years by the legendary Sam Lake and talented teams at Remedy Entertainment. We take control of 2 characters throughout the game, the first being Saga Anderson, an FBI agent tasked with investigating the mysterious murder of Robert Nightingale, who has been missing for 13 years and is one day found brutally murdered in the woods by a group called the Cult of the Tree. The second character being Alan Wake himself, who returns from also being missing for 13 years. Without spoiling too much, I can guarantee if you're a fan of survival horror, story-driven, or mystery games, you won't want to miss out on this sleeper hit of 2023, regardless of where you play it. By putting all of our settings down to the lowest possible on the Steam Deck and using FSR2 with ultra performance, we can maintain a playable frame rate in most situations. Having been a huge fan of horror games and playing so many over the years, from the PS1 to the PS5 eras, I find it incredible that the Steam Deck allows us to play all of our horror favourites in one convenient and powerful package. And I've been having an amazing time with the game on the Steam Deck, as you can see from my channel, and I think it's actually insane the Steam Deck runs such a demanding game at all. Let's move on to the next Steam Pal to check out what they've been playing. Have a great Halloween, and thanks for stopping by.
Hey guys, Taki here. For this Halloween Steam Pal special, I went back to my library and pulled out Outlast. If you've never played it before, it's an amazing horror game that still holds up in 2023. The best part about all of this is it's super cheap at $3 with the current sale. I have this installed on my Steam Deck with the Deck HD screen, and the game runs very well at 1080p with a mix of medium settings. This is an atmospheric game, so grab some headphones and be prepared to run in fear as you navigate through this environment with nothing but a camera and some batteries.
Hello, I'm Noah from Steam Deck HQ. Lately, I've been engrossed in Amnesia The Bunker to commemorate the spooky season. Ever since The Dark Descent, the Amnesia series has captivated me with its emphasis on atmosphere and psychological horror. The Bunker takes this legacy and elevates it. The World War I bunker backdrop, combined with the challenge of gathering limited resources and crafting essential tools, instills a lingering sense of anxiety as you walk around the dimly lit hallways. Notably, this installment introduces a way to defend yourself, a series first. However, the limited ammunition forces you to strategize, enhancing the suspense as a lurking creature could be just around the corner. Additionally, the game's non-linear world offers multiple problem-solving solutions, allowing you to experiment. A recent Halloween update introduced the Shell Shock mode, a hardcore setting that randomizes gameplay elements, incorporates a new fuse system, and modifies the creature's behavior for an unpredictable experience. This adds a ton of replayability. No two runs will be the same. As for its performance on the Steam Deck, Amnesia the Bunker plays extremely well. While it can achieve 60 frames per second on maximum settings in most scenarios, a plethora of effects on the screen can cause slight drops. Thus, I recommend capping the frame rate and refresh rate at 40. With its current sale price of $18.74 on Steam until November 2nd, this game is a top pick for those seeking a genuine fright.
Hey Steam Pals, happy Halloween. I have to say that the horror genre isn't really something that I usually go for. I don't like super gory stuff in games. I tolerate it for a good story or a really good gameplay, and most of the time I find that horror games are more about the gore than they are about the story or the gameplay. One game that is the exception to the rule for me is Alien Isolation. Not only is the gameplay really great, the moment-to-moment gameplay is top-notch, and it is one of my favorite games of all time, but the story is also very interesting. In that game, you play as Ellen Ripley's daughter, and you are basically looking for your mom after the Nostromo is found. It is brought to Sevastopol Station, and a chaos ensues. You are being hunted by this alien, and you can't defeat it. It is impervious to your weapons. The only thing you can do is like kind of use fire to scare it away temporarily, but it will come after you and it will kill you and it will hunt you down. It's really, really scary. My favorite moments are when you are hiding from the alien and you can see its legs like maybe you're hiding under a desk and you can see its legs as it's walking around the room looking for you, or you're hiding in a locker and you can see the alien through the slits in the locker, and as it comes up and sniffs the locker, you have to kind of lean back and hold your breath and hope that you can hold your breath long enough so that the alien doesn't guess that you're in there. And it's just really intense. It's an incredibly intense game. And there's some really interesting twists in the story that I really liked. And then on top of that, you also have the other people on Sevastopol Station, which are, various degrees of terrible. And then you've got the robots or the androids that, are also famous from the Alien series. And they have their own things that you have to deal with. So if you have not yet played this game, it is fantastic. It really captures the feeling of the 1970s horror movie. And if you haven't played it, you absolutely need to.
James here from Games Revealed, and I gotta say, my favorite horror game to play on the Steam Deck or any handheld device is gotta be Dead Space. And yes, it can be either the original Dead Space in 2008, and it can be the one that came out this year, the Dead Space remake. They're both amazing. They hold up well. Well, the old one holds up well. The new one is a masterpiece of sound design. And just holding true to what the original had while making it extra scary, jumpy, and just beautiful. If you like gory, dripping, pointy things coming at you, it has really cool mechanics in it, and the way that you have to dismember and everything. I know this is a horror game, by the way, it's different than any other game I've ever played and still continue to play. Like, I go back, this is the game I go back and play. I loved playing it on my main PC, the remake, but now that I've beat it once, it's fun to just sit down anywhere and just continue to explore the Ishimura, which is the ship that you are on in this game. You are on there to go rescue your significant other that's stuck on this abandoned or derelict ship, and you run into a lot of creatures called necromorphs, and you get to unravel the mystery of what happened to the Ishimura with additional crewmates. And I gotta say, it's a fun ride. You might be surprised where it's going to take you. The original plays amazing on the Steam Deck. The remake still plays really well on the deck with some dips at times, but you're going to have a good time with this. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you do. If not, then there's other horror games on this list that you're going to watch. So peace out. Later.
If you missed the era of classic survival horror with tank-style controls, well, I got a game for you. It's called Ghosts at Dawn, and this game by Blue and Red Games is one of my all-time favorite games of the year. You're in for a delightful fright night. It's like stepping into a time capsule, drawing inspiration from the golden age of survival horror games. Think fixed camera angles, a spooky as hell old building, and oh, don't even get me started on the limited inventory space. You'll step into the shoes of Ben O'Hara, a Japanese-American detective battling past traumas from his service in World War II. Look, the dude's on a mission. He's probing into the mysterious vanishing of Emi Kosuke, last seen at the now abandoned Pines Hotel. The story's dripping with noir vibes, and honestly, combining noir with old school horror is like mixing peanut butter and jelly. It's just perfect. Kudos to Blue and Red Games. They nailed the ambience. Pines Hotel is the epitome of airy. We've got dramatic shadows, Art Deco statues peeking around every corner, and moonlight casting its spell through old grubby windows. And let's not forget the smooth jazz serenading in the background. And the camera angles? Man, Ghosts at Dawn doesn't just settle with slapping the camera in a corner. The way it's positioned gives you sneak peeks into hidden items, provides direction, and sometimes even keeps you in suspense by withholding just the right amount of info. The game captures the essence of classics while sprinkling its own flavor. If you're a die-hard fan of the genre, give this game a whirl.
The scariest part about Halloween is just how enjoyable horror games are. Why is it that we're so interested in games that terrify us, games that might even traumatize us? And the answer is, they're just so damn good. Whether it's a book, movie, or even video games, true horror is difficult to do. And when it's done properly, there's nothing quite like it. In my own humble opinion, all good entertainment should make you feel something. And in the case of horror games, they make you feel fear, terror,